They return to you, their eyes filled with desperation, their words dripping with regret. They whisper promises of change, swear by their newfound wisdom, plead for another chance to prove that this time, things will be different. But listen closely. Do you hear the echoes of past betrayals lurking beneath their words? The same lips that once spoke lies now craft a plea for redemption. The same hands that let you fall now reach out, trembling, asking you to trust again. But do people truly change? Or do they merely perfect their deception? The world is not built upon the naive optimism of second chances, but upon the brutal clarity of consequences. The one who begs you for forgiveness is rarely the one who deserves it. They do not seek to repair what they have broken. They seek to regain what they have lost. Not because they love you, not because they have seen the error of their ways, but because they have seen what life is without your presence, without your loyalty, without your usefulness. You must ask yourself, not in the shallow way of self-pity, but in the ruthless way of truth, who benefits from this second chance? Is it you, the one who was betrayed, or the one who did the betraying? They stand before you now, more careful with their words, more calculated in their approach, but the essence remains unchanged. The weak always return when they have nowhere else to go. The cunning return when they see another opportunity to take. If a snake bites you once, do you extend your hand to it again? If a man betrays you once, does he not prove what he is capable of? And if you ignore the lesson written in the scars upon your soul, are you not the fool for allowing it to happen again? No, second chances are not acts of kindness. They are the surrender of power. They are an invitation for history to repeat itself. They are a rejection of reality in favor of a comforting lie. To give a second chance is to deny the fundamental nature of human behavior. It is to assume that remorse is stronger than habit, that regret is mightier than self-interest. But regret is not transformation. A wolf does not become a lamb because it mourns its hunger. You are not here to serve as the redemption arc of those who have wronged you. You are not a character in their story, waiting to be convinced of their growth. You owe them nothing. Not your time, not your patience, and certainly not the opportunity to do it again. If they were truly worthy of a second chance, they would not need to ask for it. Their actions alone would speak louder than any apology. But here they stand, pleading, not because they have changed, but because they hope you have not. Why do they ask for a second chance? They return, not because they have changed, but because the world outside your warmth is cold. Do not mistake their regret for revelation. It is not their conscience that has awakened, but their fear of loss. A man does not seek to reclaim what he has discarded unless he realizes its value was greater than he believed. But value for such creatures is never measured in love, in respect, in the sacred weight of trust. No value for them is measured in utility, in comfort, in what you provide that they no longer possess. The one who betrayed you now stands before you with lowered eyes, a softened voice, a script carefully rehearsed. They speak of lessons learned, of suffering endured, of a heart that aches for the past. But was it the absence of your soul they mourned, or the absence of your service? Did they weep for the wound they inflicted upon you, or for the emptiness left behind when you were no longer there to carry their burdens? The world is full of those who mistake necessity for love. The parasite does not long for its host out of affection, but out of hunger. The beggar who kneels at your feet does not worship you, he worships what you have to give. And when a man who has betrayed you returns, speaking of sorrow, of change, of a newfound devotion, what is it that he truly seeks? To cleanse himself of his sins? No. He seeks to regain what was lost, not you, but what you represent. To give him a second chance is to believe that a thief stops stealing once his pockets are full, that a liar stops lying once his words are trusted again. The nature of a man does not shift with regret. Remorse is not a miracle, and time does not purify the soul of one who has already chosen betrayal. If they could deceive you once, they can deceive you twice. And if they regret anything, it is not their own corruption, it is that they have lost the privilege of using you. Do not be fooled by their performance. The weak cry not because they have changed, but because they have been caught. The cunning return not because they have repented, but because they see another opportunity. And the naive forgive, believing that pain alone is enough to teach wisdom. But wisdom is not born from suffering. It is born from the ability to see things as they truly are. They are not here because they have grown. They are here because they have fallen. They do not seek redemption. They seek reinstatement. And the only thing that has truly changed is their strategy. People do not change, only their masks do. A man may kneel in repentance, but does that make him pure? A snake may shed its skin, but does that make it harmless? No, it is only the naive who believe that time and suffering transform the essence of a being. The truth is far more brutal. People do not change, they adapt. They refine their disguises, sharpen their deceptions, and learn to conceal the very flaws that once exposed them. The face may soften, the words may sweeten, but behind the mask, the same mind is calculating, the same heart is beating to the rhythm of self-interest. Beware the one who returns to you speaking of transformation. They have studied your pain, they have memorized your disappointments, and now they sculpt a new version of themselves, one that appears safer, gentler, worthy of trust. But is it change, or is it simply a more convincing illusion? A liar who has been caught does not stop lying, he simply becomes better at it. A betrayer who has been abandoned does not discover loyalty, he learns how to mimic it more convincingly. Do not let the performance fool you. Real change is not spoken, it is lived. The man who has truly transformed does not beg for a second chance. He does not craft a speech to regain your trust. No, he vanishes into the abyss of his own making, wrestling with the demons he himself unleashed. He does not demand forgiveness. He accepts the weight of his choices. He does not seek to reclaim you. He seeks to rebuild himself, with or without your presence. The mask is temporary. The truth is eternal. And the truth is this: those who return to you pleading for redemption have not changed. They have only learned how to hide their nature better. If they once deceived you, they will do so again. If they once broke you, they will only grow more skilled at disguising the knife before they strike. So strip away the mask. Look beyond the carefully chosen words, the rehearsed sorrow, the fragile facade of change. And ask yourself, not with hope, not with nostalgia, but with ruthless clarity, is this a new man before you, or merely an old deceiver in a finer disguise? A second chance, your choice or your weakness. You tell yourself it is your decision, that you are in control. You convince yourself that offering a second chance is an act of strength, of wisdom, of generosity. But is it truly your will that speaks, or is it fear whispering through your veins? The fear of loneliness, the fear of regret, the fear of closing a door that deep inside you wish it never needed to be closed at all. Man does not grant second chances out of power, but out of longing. It is not virtue that drives us to forgive, it is the hunger for what was lost. We do not welcome back the one who betrayed us because they have changed, but because we crave the illusion that they never left. What is a second chance, if not an attempt to rewrite the past? To erase the wound, to silence the doubt, to pretend, for just a little longer, that things could be different? But they cannot. The past does not dissolve under the weight of hope. The same hands that let you fall will never learn to catch you. The same voice that spoke lies will only learn to weave them more beautifully. You are not rewriting fate. You are merely postponing its inevitable verdict. If you must give a second chance, let it be for one reason alone, because you choose to, not because you fear what will happen if you don't. Let it be an act of absolute will, not a desperate bargain with loneliness. But if you give it in weakness, if you surrender to nostalgia, if you let fear guide your hand, know this: you are not choosing a second chance. You are choosing a second wound. And this time, you will have no one to blame but yourself. Manipulation through guilt. Are you perfect? Ah, the oldest trick of the weak, the final refuge of those who stand exposed. When a man is caught in his betrayal, when his lies crumble beneath the weight of truth, what is left for him to do? He does not seek justice. He does not seek atonement. No, he seeks to drag you down with him. He reaches for the only weapon left in his arsenal, your own guilt. Are you perfect? He asks, his voice laced with feigned humility. Haven't you made mistakes too? And in those words, he seeks not fairness, not understanding, but your submission. He does not need to prove his innocence. He only needs to remind you of your own sins, so that you hesitate, so that your judgment wavers, so that the fire of your anger is smothered beneath the weight of self-doubt. But this is not justice. This is manipulation. For what is perfection to the one who has been wronged? Do you need to be flawless to recognize betrayal? Does your past absolve the sins of another? If a man steals from you, does his crime vanish simply because you have, at some point in your life, been careless with your own possessions? If a man stabs you in the back, does the wound close simply because you have once hurt another? No, this is not about morality. This is about control. He does not seek to balance the scales. He seeks to tip them in his favor. He does not seek forgiveness. He seeks to silence your right to condemn him. And the moment you accept this logic, the moment you lower your sword out of misplaced humility, you have already lost. Remember this: your flaws do not excuse the sins of another. Your mistakes do not erase their betrayal. You are not the one on trial. And those who stand before you, pleading their case with questions designed to weaken your resolve, do not seek truth. They seek your surrender. Deny it to them. Sincerity or fear of loss. They return. Their words are softer now, their eyes heavy with regret. They speak of change, of lessons learned, of wounds that time has carved into their soul. They tell you they understand now, that they have seen the error of their ways, that they are not the same person who once hurt you. But is this sincerity, or is it simply fear? A man does not seek redemption out of pure realization. He seeks it when the consequences of his actions finally close in around him. Regret is often not born from guilt, but from loss. They do not mourn the pain they inflicted upon you. They mourn what they lost when you walked away. They do not grieve their betrayal. They grieve the silence that followed when you no longer answered their calls. And now they return, not because they have changed, but because the world without you is colder, emptier, harsher than they expected. They have seen that their freedom came at a cost, that the grass was not greener, that you were the source of comfort, of stability, of something they did not truly appreciate until it was gone. And now they seek to reclaim it. But what is it they truly want? Do they miss you, the depth of your soul, the fire of your presence, the force of your love? Or do they miss the convenience of your forgiveness? The security of knowing that no matter how they failed you, they could always return to open arms? Do they miss the person you are, or the role you played in their life? There is no revelation here. There is no grand awakening of conscience. There is only a man standing at the door he once walked through so carelessly, knocking now with trembling hands, not because he has become someone new, but because the world outside has not been kind to the person he has always been. And so he wears the mask of change, the disguise of a soul reborn. But listen closely. Does he speak of what he did, or does he speak only of what he lost? Does he ask how he can heal what he broke, or does he ask only for another chance, as if your forgiveness were an obligation rather than a gift? No, this is not transformation. This is self-preservation. A man who truly changes does not return seeking comfort. He does not beg to be accepted again. He accepts the consequences of his actions and walks his path alone, reshaping himself not for the approval of another, but for the war within his own soul. He does not knock at your door, because he knows he has no right to. But the one who returns, pleading, promising, swearing that things will be different, he does not return as a new man. He returns as a man who has seen that life without you is a life of struggle, a life where he must face himself without the shield of your kindness. And so he crawls back, not because he is better, but because he is desperate. Will you let desperation masquerade as love? Or will you see through the illusion and recognize it for what it is? A man who does not fear losing you, but only fears what life is without you. A man who does not love you, but only loves what you gave him. A second chance is not a gift. It is a gamble, and the house always wins. Emotion versus reason. Who is in control? A war rages within you. On one side, your emotions scream, raw and relentless. They whisper of forgiveness, of second chances, of the comfort that comes from surrendering to the warmth of nostalgia. They beg you to believe, to hope, to lower your guard just once more. On the other side stands your reason, silent, cold, merciless. It does not beg. It does not weep. It sees only the truth, stripped of illusion, naked and unkind. Who will you allow to rule? To live by emotion is to be a slave to impulse. It is to mistake longing for love, familiarity for trust, regret for transformation. Emotion is blind. It does not weigh evidence. It does not consider history. It is the voice that says, "But what if this time is different?" Even when all experience proves otherwise. It is the hand that reaches for the flame, though it has been burned before. To live by reason is to choose clarity over comfort. It is to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. It is the force that rips away sentimentality, that tears apart the illusions you so carefully built around those who hurt you. It does not soothe, it sharpens. It does not embrace, it dissects. But in its cold precision lies the only true power you have, the ability to decide rather than to be led. Pity is your enemy. It is the weapon that will be used against you, the chain that keeps you bound to those who have already shown you what they are. They will plead, they will cry, they will remind you of the times when things were good. And if you allow pity to seep into your mind, it will poison your judgment, dragging you back into the cycle you swore you would never return to. How do you shut it down? How do you silence the voice that tells you to give them another chance? You do not argue with emotion, you starve it. Remove their face from your mind. Forget the trembling voice, the sorrowful eyes, the carefully chosen words designed to pierce your armor. Reduce them to their actions, cold, undeniable, stripped of all sentiment. Look at what they did, not at what they say now. A man is not his apologies. A man is the sum of his choices. Then ask yourself, not with hope, not with kindness, but with brutal honesty, if you were to meet this person today, knowing nothing but the facts of their actions, would you trust them? Would you open the door? Would you risk yourself for them? If the answer is no, then let that be the end of it. Emotion is a storm. It passes. But reason is the foundation beneath it, unmoving, unshaken, untouched by the fleeting winds of sentimentality. Let the storm rage, let it scream, but do not act until it has passed. Only then, when all is still and the sky is clear, will you see the truth for what it is. And the truth does not care how you feel. It only waits for you to be strong enough to accept it. How to know when you're being deceived again? The key signs of false repentance. They come back, don't they? The ones who have wronged you, the ones who shattered your trust into pieces, now standing before you with downcast eyes, their voice trembling with a rehearsed sorrow. "I'm sorry," they say, and for a fleeting moment, you almost believe it. Almost. But beware. What you are witnessing is not a rebirth. It is the manipulation of a master who has learned how to bend you to their will once more. They are not sorry for what they did to you. They are sorry only because they have learned that losing you costs them more than they expected. False repentance is a mask worn by those who understand that their actions have consequences, but have not yet internalized the responsibility for them. It is the art of seeking forgiveness without ever confronting the true nature of their sins. They do not wish to change. They wish only to restore the comfort of their previous position. And in this, they become a master of deception. The signs are subtle, but they are there, hidden beneath the surface of their words, their actions, their very demeanor. First, notice the speed at which their apology comes. True repentance takes time, reflection, and a willingness to confront the full depth of their betrayal. But the false penitent? They offer their apology before the wound has even begun to heal, as if to prevent you from seeing the truth, that they have not changed, only adapted. They will speak of their regret, but they will speak little of the how and why of their wrongdoings. They will ask for forgiveness, but they will not demonstrate the actions that prove they are deserving of it. Words are their weapons, not their tools of self-reflection. They tell you what you want to hear, not what they have truly understood. And then there is the most telling sign, the absence of change. True remorse is not confined to an apology. It is lived. It is visible. It is in the way they carry themselves, in the way they handle their future choices, in the way they accept the consequences of their actions. But the false penitent? They will make grand promises of change, but they will not change. They will return to their old ways, and when the cycle repeats, they will blame the circumstances, the world, you, but never themselves. You see, there is no repentance without transformation. Words without action are merely the echo of manipulation. And the moment you allow their pleas to cloud your judgment, you risk becoming an accomplice in their deceit. For by accepting their apology, you are granting them a weapon they do not deserve. You are allowing them to rewrite the narrative of their betrayal, making you the villain who failed to see their change, when in truth, they have not changed at all. True repentance is not a demand. It is a gift that must be earned, not begged for. And it is a gift not to be given to those who have not earned it through their actions, but only through their words. So let the apology pass through your ears like wind through the trees. Do not be swayed by its sweetness. Do not allow your heart to soften before the echoes of empty promises. Instead, look to their deeds, their patterns, their choices. Look at the person they have shown themselves to be, and ask yourself, is this someone who has truly changed? False repentance is the art of regaining power. Do not let them regain what they never deserved to have. Toxic kindness, how they program you to forgive. We are taught, from a young age, to forgive. To forgive the ones who hurt us, who betray us, who deceive us with smiles while wielding daggers behind our backs. It is woven into the fabric of society, this idea that kindness is a virtue, and forgiveness, the highest of all virtues. But have you ever asked yourself why? Why are we urged to forgive when every instinct inside us screams for justice? Why are we made to believe that healing comes not from confrontation, but from silent surrender? This is the poison of toxic kindness. Society, with its well-meaning words and shallow wisdom, has programmed you to believe that forgiveness is the only way forward, that peace is found in swallowing your pain and ignoring the betrayal. But this is not kindness. This is submission. It is not the purity of a heart that seeks to heal the world. It is the cowardice of a soul that fears confrontation, that seeks to avoid the discomfort of truth. Look closely, and you will see it. The very act of forgiveness has been weaponized. The message is clear. You are not allowed to be angry. You are not allowed to demand justice. You are not allowed to protect your boundaries. Instead, you are taught to overlook, to let go, to accept, because to do otherwise is to be bitter, to be unforgiving, to hold on to the past. And in this lie, you are shackled. It is not the wrongdoer who benefits from this doctrine, but the system that profits from your silence. They tell you to forgive, not for your healing, but for their comfort. They want you to forget the betrayal, so they can continue their ways without consequence. Forgiveness becomes the perfect tool for manipulation, for control. If they can convince you that it is your fault for not forgiving, they can keep you trapped in a cycle of hurt and resentment, while they are free to repeat their sins with no fear of retribution. But the truth is harsher than this comforting lie. Forgiveness is not a sign of strength. It is a concession to weakness. It is the easy path, the way of least resistance, the escape from the harsh responsibility of taking action. Society does not teach you to protect yourself. It teaches you to endure, to tolerate, to suffer in silence. And in doing so, it robs you of your power. What would happen if you refused to forgive? What if you demanded justice instead of mercy? What if you protected your peace not by tolerating betrayal, but by drawing firm boundaries and never allowing them to be crossed again? What if, instead of healing the wounds inflicted upon you by others, you let them remain open, a constant reminder of what betrayal truly costs? This is the strength of the individual, the power of the sovereign soul. To forgive is not always virtuous. Sometimes, it is a betrayal of your own self. You do not have to tolerate the abuse of kindness. You do not have to swallow your pain for the sake of peace. Forgiveness should not be a tool to silence you, but a choice you make when it is earned, when the offender has proven through their actions that they have changed. Until then, let them feel the weight of their actions. Let them carry the burden of guilt, not you. You do not owe them your peace, nor your kindness. The world will tell you otherwise. But remember, sometimes kindness is a mask for the tyrant's agenda, and sometimes true strength lies in saying no, no to manipulation, no to false peace, and no to a world that would rather see you broken than strong. If their actions were genuine, words would be unnecessary. We live in a world that is obsessed with words. Apologies, explanations, justifications. Everywhere you look, you hear the clamor of people talking, trying to smooth over the jagged edges of their past actions with carefully chosen phrases. But what if I told you that words are the ultimate veil, the armor that shields us from the truth? What if the real measure of a person's change isn't in their ability to speak, but in their actions, their quiet evolution without a single utterance of remorse? True change does not need to announce itself. It does not require the tongue to confess what the heart should already know. Words are the refuge of the insecure, the manipulative, the ones who fear the weight of their own actions. They use words as shields, not to heal, but to distract, to soften the edges of the truth they wish to avoid. If their change were genuine, there would be no need for speeches, no endless pleas for forgiveness. The actions themselves would speak louder than any apology ever could. Look carefully at the ones who have wronged you. When they change, do they come to you, asking for forgiveness with trembling words and hollow promises? Or do they show it through their choices, through the quiet transformations in their behavior, through the consistent, steady shift that demands no recognition, no validation? The truly changed do not seek your approval. They earn it through their actions. They don't need to beg for your forgiveness. They demonstrate that they are worthy of it, day by day, by living in accordance with the integrity they once lacked. Forgiveness, in this sense, becomes irrelevant. When someone has genuinely transformed, their actions will serve as the proof, and forgiveness will no longer be a question. It will simply be a recognition of what has already transpired. You will not need to be convinced of their sincerity, because their sincerity will be an undeniable presence, a force felt in the way they treat you, in the way they treat others, in the way they walk through the world. Words, then, are the great deception. We are taught to expect them, to wait for the apology, to crave the validation of their remorse. But this is the trap. Words are easy. Anyone can say the right thing. Actions, however, are the true measure of transformation. Words may make us feel temporarily appeased, but they do not change the course of the river. They do not reshape the mountains. Only actions do that. So when someone comes to you, pleading for forgiveness, remember that the true question is not whether they ask, but whether their actions will change to reflect the sincerity of their words. True transformation does not need to ask for forgiveness. It simply makes forgiveness obsolete. It heals the wounds without needing to reopen them. It demonstrates, without speaking a single word, that the past is not who they are anymore. And in this, the power lies not in the apology, but in the silence that follows, a silence that speaks volumes. The world is full of talkers, but the ones who truly change, they are the quiet ones, the ones whose actions render words unnecessary. They do not need to seek forgiveness. They simply become worthy of it. They've changed. But will their attitude toward you change? Change is often celebrated as a victory, as if the mere shift in a person's behavior is enough to rebuild everything that has been broken. They have transformed, they say. They have learned, they say. They have become someone better, someone worthy of your trust again. But what if this change isn't the salvation you think it is? What if their transformation only scratches the surface, leaving the core of their relationship with you untouched? You see, change, true deep change, is a rare thing. It is not merely a shift in habits or actions. It is the fundamental reshaping of a person's soul, their understanding of themselves, and their understanding of the world. But the truth is far more complex. Change may come, yes, but it does not always carry the weight of a complete redefinition of their feelings, especially when it comes to their attitude toward you. They may no longer lie, no longer manipulate, no longer deceive. But will they see you the same way? Will they view you as someone deserving of respect, trust, and admiration? Or will they still see you through the lens of their past behavior? It's possible for someone to change their actions while leaving their underlying attitude toward you unchanged. The surface can look different, but the roots of their perspective may remain buried in the same soil. You must ask yourself, then, whether their change truly aligns with your path. Just because someone becomes a better person does not mean that they will fit into your life again, nor that the path you now walk is meant to be shared with them. Change is not a guarantee that the relationship will return to what it once was. Sometimes, the only thing that changes is the space between you, widening with the realization that your journeys no longer align. What if, in the process of their transformation, you've changed too? What if you are no longer the person they knew? Your own evolution, your own understanding of what you need, what you value, and who you are, may have shifted in ways that no longer leave room for them beside you. Their change may be genuine, but it may be irrelevant in the context of who you are now. Change is never just about the other person. It is also about you. When someone undergoes a transformation, it does not mean that your path automatically reconnects with theirs. Sometimes, it means that the space between you grows even larger, as you both come to realize that you have moved in opposite directions. Their change may have been necessary for them, but not for you. And while their growth is commendable, it may not be enough to bring you back together. Do not fall into the trap of believing that change, any change, is always the key to reconciliation. True reconciliation demands not only change but alignment, not only growth but mutual understanding. And if either party is unwilling or unable to truly see the other for who they are now, without the baggage of the past, then change may simply become an illusion, a facade behind which the truth remains hidden. The past is a shadow that lingers, and even the most profound change cannot erase it. If they have changed, let them. But understand this, change does not guarantee that your paths will merge again. It only means that one person has learned to walk a new way. And you must ask yourself whether you want to walk that path with them, or whether the road ahead requires you to leave them behind. Shatter the illusions, and you won't need to forgive. We live surrounded by illusions, painted faces, carefully constructed masks, and illusions of good intentions. You've been conditioned to see what you want to see, to believe in the sweet words and charming smiles, to overlook the cracks that form in the foundations of the people around you. But what if you were to shatter these illusions? What if you allowed yourself to see others as they truly are, rather than as the versions they wish you to perceive? Forgiveness is a heavy burden, one we bear because we refuse to truly see. We cling to the belief that people are capable of more, that they are inherently good, that they are deserving of a second chance. And in doing so, we forgive. But what if, instead of forgiving, you allowed yourself to witness the reality of who they are without distortion? What if you discarded the idealized versions of those who have wronged you and in doing so, freed yourself from the need for forgiveness? This isn't about cynicism or bitterness. It's about freeing yourself from the shackles of false hope. When you look at someone through the lens of who they pretend to be, you blind yourself to the truth. You fail to recognize their patterns, their weaknesses, their true motivations. You see what you want to see, not what is. And in that blindness, you perpetuate the cycle of hurt, of disappointment, and of forgiveness that never brings resolution. But when you shatter the illusions, when you strip away the facades, what remains is clarity. You see them as they are, imperfect, flawed, often selfish and manipulative. And when you see them clearly, you realize that the need for forgiveness fades. It becomes irrelevant, because forgiveness is a concession to the lie you've been living. It is you telling yourself that their behavior is something you can accept, something you can excuse, something that can be forgotten. But when you see the truth of who they are, you understand that it is not their actions that need to be forgiven. It is your own blindness to the truth that needs to be recognized and corrected. To see clearly is to stop making excuses, to stop giving people the benefit of the doubt that they haven't earned. To see clearly is to stop believing in the possibility of change that you want more than they do. It is to stop allowing yourself to be manipulated by the allure of what could be instead of seeing what is. And in this clarity, you find freedom, not from the pain, but from the chains of hope and expectation that you have placed on others. When you destroy the illusion, forgiveness loses its grip on you. It no longer becomes a question of whether or not you should forgive, but whether you need to at all. The need to forgive is born from the need to believe in something better, something more. But once the illusion is shattered, you realize that you no longer need to forgive. You simply accept the reality of the situation, and in doing so, you reclaim your power. The truth can be brutal, yes, but it is also liberating. When you see people as they truly are, there is no longer any need to bend to their demands, to justify their behavior, or to excuse their actions. You stop allowing them to control you through guilt or false expectations. And in this, you are free, not because you've forgiven, but because you've allowed yourself to see the truth without distortion, without the comforting lies that once kept you trapped. When you look at the world with unclouded eyes, you no longer need to search for reasons to forgive. The clarity of truth will be enough to guide you, and you will find that forgiveness becomes a relic of the past, a concept that no longer holds sway over your heart. The illusion is shattered, and you are free. The strong do not seek revenge or forgiveness, they forget. In a world where revenge and forgiveness are often seen as the ultimate acts of justice, there is a far more powerful weapon that the truly strong wield: forgetting. It is not the violent retaliation of the betrayed, nor the fragile mercy of the one wronged. Forgetting is the quiet, relentless force that strips away the power of betrayal, rendering it meaningless. And it is the most effective way to punish a traitor. The weak are consumed by the need for retribution. They believe that revenge will restore what was lost, that it will bring some sort of balance to the scales. They demand an apology, they crave recognition of their pain, and they search for ways to make the traitor suffer. But in doing so, they remain tethered to the past, chained by the very betrayal that wounded them. They become obsessed with the idea of making the other person feel the weight of their wrongdoing, as if that will undo the harm. But the truly strong, they know the only way to truly punish a betrayer is to erase them entirely, to remove them from the narrative of your life as though they never existed, to forget them, not out of weakness, but out of strength. When you forget, you take away the only thing a traitor craves, the attention, the reaction, the lingering presence in your world. You show them, not that their actions matter to you, but that they are irrelevant. The pain they caused, the deceit they laid before you, these things become nothing more than a shadow that fades with time, because you choose to leave it in the past. Forget them not because you have forgiven, but because you have moved beyond them. You let go of the emotional baggage they tried to weigh you down with. You no longer dwell in the drama of their betrayal, nor do you give them the satisfaction of remaining in your consciousness. They are gone, erased, forgotten, their place in your life taken by something far more important, your own strength and your own path forward. In the act of forgetting, you not only strip them of their power over you, but you also transcend the need for closure. Closure is a construct for those who believe they need answers, for those who believe that the past holds the key to their future. But the strong understand that the past is nothing more than a series of moments, and those moments only have the power you give them. By forgetting, you take away their power to define you, to keep you tied to a story of betrayal. The true punishment for betrayal is not in vengeance, and it is not in forgiveness. It lies in the act of releasing the betrayer from the role they once played in your life. The best revenge, the greatest justice, is in your ability to carry on without them, to move forward without the need for their existence to hold any weight in your heart or mind. When you forget, you become untouchable. You break free from the chains of emotional attachment to those who have wronged you. You let go of the burden of resentment, not because you've forgiven, but because their actions no longer matter. They no longer occupy your space, your thoughts, or your future. They have been erased, and with that erasure comes your liberation. So, let them fade into the nothingness they deserve. Forget them, not out of weakness, but out of strength. And in doing so, you take away the most profound punishment they could ever face, to be forgotten, to be rendered utterly irrelevant in the face of your own power. As we've uncovered today, the true power lies not in revenge or forgiveness, but in understanding and embracing the strength of letting go. To free yourself from betrayal, you must break the illusion, see the truth, and move forward with clarity. Remember, your path is yours alone, and no one has the power to dictate it unless you allow it. So, as you move through life, let go of what no longer serves you. Protect your peace. And may you always find the strength to forget, not out of weakness, but because you are truly free. Stay strong. Keep evolving.